So we have come to the last question and answer session. So I invite to present with the written questions.
Most Venerable Sir, today we have a total of 4 questions, 3 on experiences and 1 relating to yesterday's Dhamma sermon.
Yeah.
Dear Bhante, I am a beginner to meditation. It is difficult for me to identify the inhale and outhale at nostrils. So I started observing the movement of the abdomen. This is convenient, but time to time I tend to again check breath at nostrils as I am undergoing an experimental phase. Dear Bhante, please guide me on how to proceed.
Yeah. So it is not essential to check the breath at the nostril, because what you have selected, this rising and falling itself is an extremely versatile, extremely good primary object. As you might know, in Burma, now the majority of practitioners are using that. Not the Anapanasati, but rising and falling. So both of these primary objects, Anapanasati and rising and falling, are giving really very much the same results. One small added benefit from Anapanasati is that it is giving some benefit in the Samatha meditation as well. But rising and falling directly takes you to the Vipassana side. And it is free from any kind of complexities which might occur in Anapanasati. For some people, when they are doing Anapanasati, they sometimes, due to too much effort, sometimes they get some headache, some kind of some little complexities in the head area. But in rising and falling, since it is based on the abdominal movement, your attention is very much in the body, very much under the stomach area. So there are no such complexities at all. It is really healthy type of meditation technique. So, and when you are doing it, see, as you are doing right now, when you are breathing in, you can simply feel that your abdomen comes forward. And if you can't feel it, you can simply keep your hand and see that your hand is moving. And there you can simply know that it is rising. And when it is going back, it is falling. So then you can remove your hand. And then as you are breathing in, so you simply be aware, now there's a movement happen in the abdomen, and then you can simply note it as rising. When it is coming back, simply note it as falling. So just use this noting, rising, falling as a way of establishing mindfulness. Suppose if you say before that, let's say while you are doing it, your mind distracted, so it doesn't matter, because that is the way of the mind. Because our mind is not familiar with being in one object, particularly one simple, equanimous or neutral object. Rather, it likes to be with very excited objects. But right now, we are trying to keep our mind in a very subtle, kind of a boring type of object. So it is very obvious that it will jump to something else. So don't worry. So again, when you are aware that now my mind has drifted from the primary object and it has wandered for say 5 minutes, doesn't matter. When you know very well that it has drifted, when you know very well now I am not in the primary object, come back to the primary object. Suppose at that time you are experiencing falling cycle, just aware of the falling, forget about what has happened and just continue from that point. Falling and then rising, falling, rising. So likewise, then and there you utilize this. Then and there, like you getting the benefit from the primary object. So point to remember is, more we associate primary object at the beginner stage, more we can develop the faculties, more we can develop mindfulness. And here also the technique is the very much same. Say at the beginning you are using, say, noting, rising, falling. Later on, if mind stays with it, you can simply drop it. Or you can little shorten the phrase. Instead of telling rising and falling, you can simply say 1, 2. And if it is staying with rising and falling altogether, then just don't verbalize it. Rather, simply be aware of the sensation. As the abdomen coming forward, you can feel some tension. Tension in the sense some kind of a expansion, some kind of a stiffness at the end. And again, you can feel the movement. And these indications, if you can be aware, so that is more than enough. So just be aware. Now the abdomen is moving, it is changing, it is now coming forward. And at the end, you can feel that it stopped. And you might feel little stiffness. And then kind of a gap is there. It's kind of a resting area. And now the falling cycle begins. And that cycle also you fully aware. Now you feel little relaxed. A movement happens and ultimately it comes back to the still. And again kind of a resting period. Now the next cycle begins. So they're very much similar. So you be with this complete cycle. So this is in a way very straightforward. And again, if your mind drifted, again take it back. So you can follow this technique. And while you are doing that, no need to check whether be aware right now, am I capable of looking at the nostril. So it is not necessary at all. So don't do that, because having rising and falling as your primary object is more than enough. No need to go to Anapanasati at all. Yes.
Bhante, this is the second part by the same yogi. During the sitting meditation this morning, I could sit for 1 hour. My mind wandered sometimes, but I could take it back. Large pain occurred at my back and along one leg. I focused on the points where the pain was, and somehow the pain diminished. But again it came, and this time I got up from meditation. Dear Bhante, please guide how to act when pain disturbs. Thero Saranai.
Yeah. So hopefully at least say 15 minutes, 20 minutes, if you can continue with your primary object, that is good enough. But as the pain comes for beginners, so try to be at least couple of minutes with the pain. And if you are well aware that by changing the posture a little bit, you can overcome pain, then slowly change the posture. So don't immediately change it, which might disturb the ongoing process, ongoing development of the mindfulness. So while keeping your attention at the primary object, you slowly change the posture, and don't worry about what has happened during the posture changing. Rather, you maintain your attention at the primary object during the changing of the posture. So that is one approach we can take. Or else you can shift your attention to the changing posture. Suppose you are kind of going through a little pain, and you can move your attention to the pain, and now you change the posture fully mindfully, and then this pain may disappear, and once it disappears, come back to the primary object. So this might be you can take as another approach. So, but later on, suppose you are fairly mindful and you are somewhat experienced, then you can shift your attention to the pain and just can go through some kind of a Vedananupassana, where you have some equanimous mind, concentrated mind, mindfulness is there, and you can simply watch what is happening at this particular place, this painful area. Is it consistent? Is it changing? What are the changes? So likewise, you can learn from this pain as well. So, but don't try to do that at the beginning, because mostly it appears at the beginning like a threat, appears like a hindrance or obstacle at the beginning. So rather better go take it away by changing the posture. Yes.
Theruvan Saranai. Reverend Bhante, when I listened to Dhamma sermon the other day, I misunderstood and I tried to separate my body and my mind scientifically. I now realize that the mind is not one of the 4 elements. When I do my walking meditation, I could control my monkey mind by saying left mind, right mind, so on. While I move my legs and my feet were touching the sand. By doing it, I could improve my walking meditation very much. After doing a mindful walking meditation, I could do the sitting meditation mindfully. I myself can control my mind. I hope I am right, Bhante. Theruvan Saranai.
It doesn't matter. So, but the walking you may know from one part of the brain. So, if you are using left brain, right brain, okay, doesn't matter. Somehow, it's a matter of keeping the attention at the say left leg when you are touching or when you are feeling some sensations at the left leg. So, it's a matter of knowing, okay, now it is very much. The sensations are occurring at the left leg, and when it is available at the right leg, so it's a matter of available at the right leg, because ultimately all these nothings we have to drop. So these are simply words helping at the beginning to establish mindfulness, to somewhat focus our attention to the ongoing process, and once we succeeded in it. So in order to further progress, we need to drop this typical usage of these words, nothings, labels, and we have to fully with the experience with a fairly simple, fairly silent mind. So at that time, we don't need to tell whether it is left and right and lifting, moving or whatever thing. We simply have to be aware of little sensations, what is occurring then and there. So doesn't matter if you are using any kind of technique at the beginning, just to focus and just to bring your attention to the process. So it will be a kind of a skillful means at the beginning. Yeah.
Venerable Sir, I used to be a very musical person who enjoyed listening to music, singing and dance. Since I started practicing seriously 2 years ago, I stopped reacting to music and stopped singing. However, at times when the opportunity demands me to sing, I am unable to do so, and the voice cracks. Bhante, is this due to my meditation? Thank you.
Actually, if we take Sila too seriously, we might think, okay, I should never sing, I should never play a instrument. So like that. So better you can do it when you are having 8 precepts. But when you are with 5 precepts, there is no such restriction. So no need to be extremely strict. So actually I can remember as a Samanera when I ordained the early stages. So I broken the precepts 2 times because I also very loud music and I played few instruments as well. So and I used to murmur songs sometimes, and after become a Samanera, a monk, I couldn't stop it immediately. And as you know, it's part of the 10 precepts. And once it occurred twice, and all of a sudden I was singing, and then I went to the preceptor and mentioned, Bhante, I'm sorry, I did so. Then he gave me precepts again. So we have to somewhat sympathetic to ourselves. So we can't, punish ourselves or doing that. So later on, as our mind more and more happy with this kind of say the experiences, happy with these typical things, so this we might understand, say music and such instrument playing and such things may be kind of a distraction. It may come with time. And say for example, so now when you are, say, if suppose you have developed fair amount of mindfulness, and say suppose you are able to maintain a very calm, peaceful mind, on such situations, suppose a beautiful music happens, see how much tempting it is. So it is grabbing our attention, it is tempting our attention, and so much emotions are promoting in ourselves. So that is why we need to understand. So music and all these things actually giving us some satisfaction, some pleasure, but it is promoting certain aspects in our mind. So those, say, musicians and all those techniques know exactly how to touch these points in our hearts. So then using those instruments and the music, so they are building the emotions. So tears are coming and we are laughing or crying or whatever thing. So all these are kind of in a way avoids or harms that peacefulness, that calmness, that equanimity which we had before. So at that time you can very much clearly understand what is the harm that music would do. But before that, I mean, this may happen naturally or gradually. So no need to really punish yourself of doing some typical activities. And in a way, sometimes it may be kind of a gradual fine-tuning of our attitude, fine-tuning of our mind. So suppose at the beginning we like to be happy with some strong music, some terrible music. Later on, with the development of the mindfulness, since our faculties are fine-tuning or sensitivity is increasing, we may start to like some soft music, for example. And then even we drop that. So it's a kind of a gradual improvement. And interesting enough that even during the Buddha's time, you might have heard in the celestial beings, so Sakka wants to approach Buddha, want to meet Buddha first at one occasion. So he, rather than going immediately to meet Buddha, he asked one of his colleagues, he's called Panchasika, to go and inform that Buddha that Sakka is going to come. And Panchasika is the one who loved music. And he enjoys music and all. And he go there to meet Buddha. And he starts singing about his fiancée. So now Panchasika is playing music and he is explaining how beautiful, what's her name? Can't remember the name. So giving kind of a music instrument and explaining about her beauty. And Buddha simply listened to it. And Buddha, we can't say Buddha enjoyed it. Buddha anyway said your music and the words properly matched. And then Sakka understood this fellow is doing, not unnecessarily something, and he immediately came and put it to the scene. So we can see, these things are kind of natural things. We should not punish ourselves. Slowly, if we understand, when our mind is peaceful, when our mind is equanimous and calm, these instruments, these sounds, these songs are taking us to some emotional levels, taking us back to the past or taking us back to the future. So if we can understand that, then slowly we like to be in the present moment. Yeah.
Final question. Most Venerable Bhante, when we sit for meditation, once the breath settles in, we see a blank screen. During this stage, at times, some images pop in which has no relevance to me. The explanation was, these are anusaya keles. Are these the things that are buried in my mind, consciousness? If it is in the consciousness, does it mean that the consciousness works as a memory bank? Are these images related to the previous births? Please explain, as we need to understand the role that the consciousness plays. Thero Saranai.
Actually, we can't immediately say that these are the anusaya keles because it happens at different stages. Say lay people, most of you, so all of you. So basically, we are involved with some sensual pleasures, and when you are coming to meditate, say you give up to some extent those sensual pleasures and try to be with the material object. So kind of a kammatthana, that is a simple object. So at that time, so you might get the thoughts of what you have dropped, what you have given up. So that is nothing but the 5 sensual chords. That is about the different visible objects, maybe sounds, smells, tastes, and the touch. So these things are now coming up as thoughts. Suppose you succeeded in it, and you are able to bring your attention back to the primary object. Now, as it further improving, your primary object becomes subtler and subtler, and at that time, the kind of images or kind of signs can happen. So you might see certain things like shadows, which is happening in the mind. So we can't say immediately that these are, say, anusaya keles, because still mind is settling. And here also these are in a way distractions, and we should not follow them. And we simply have to keep back or bring back our attention to the primary object. Suppose it further improves and we are coming to a state where we can't feel anything. Our primary object has completely very much settled, extremely refined. On such situation, there could be a possibility some past thoughts can happen, memories can happen, kind of sights can happen, and it could be we can interpret as due to the operation of the anusaya keles or the influxes, the asavas. So it is, somewhat difficult to pinpoint and kind of verify and tell, okay, this part is due to anusaya and this part is due to something else or something like that. So anyway, Buddha says, so our vijnana, the consciousness, lies down or get holds of several categories of, say, anchoring points, we can say. So there's a beautiful sutta called Chetana Sutta. In Nidana Sangyukta, there Buddha says, Yancha cheteti, yancha pakappeti, yancha anuseti, arammana metang hoti vijnanassa tithiya. So yancha cheteti. So when we are willfully, when we are intentionally doing something, say when we are looking at something intentionally, say I am looking at this television intentionally, so my consciousness now grabs the visible object of the television. So it can stay there. It is the anchoring point. Consciousness established there. And similarly, say I am intentionally listening to something. So that sound is the place that where consciousness builds up. Say when I am smelling something intentionally, deliberately, then that smell helps to anchor the consciousness. When I am tasting something, similarly the taste and the tongue helps to develop the consciousness. And when we are, say, thinking something deliberately, purposefully, then that thoughts helps to establish consciousness. When I am feeling something, kind of a tactile sensation, so that helps to develop the body consciousness, and that is where it is staying. On these are the kind of willful actions that we are doing, typically what we do, and on such situation, this willful situation or this intentional activities help the consciousness to establish. If that is not present, Buddha says, pakappeti, so that the mind starts to operate by its own. So it brings various past incidents, it goes to the future, and it brings some kind of garbage so that it can hang on in those thoughts, in those objects. So that is a pakappeti. And suppose someone can, through meditation, drops all these two categories. So there is no willful seeing. So in your sitting, your eyes are closed. So no seeing. And suppose you are not hearing as well. It is fairly quiet and not hearing as well. Or if a sound happens, still mind is not bothered about it. It's not grabbing it. So hearing also not present. And there is no any particular odor, smell, so that is also not present. And you are not tasting anything. And there is no any particular sensation at the moment. Suppose there is no any sensation. And even if there is sensation, mind is not interested in staying with that. Mind likes to stay without any object. And mind also very calm at that time. There is no inner chatter. So all the six senses are very much in a kind of a calm state. So mind does not have any object available from the 5 or the 6 senses. So this is a period where the last stage can manifest, that is the anusayati. So where now mind wants to establish itself, now the anusaya, the latent tendencies start to manifest. So it can bring up some kind of a thought, it can bring up some kind of a memory. So this memory we can't actually verify even whether it occurs due to the present life or to the past life or whatever, whether it is a kind of a projection, we can't actually verify. We better drop it. So because sometimes it might happen as a bundle of thoughts are coming all of a sudden, so we can't analyze it, we better drop it. And sometimes when we are simply keeping kind of an empty mind, very peaceful, freed mind, relaxed mind, so we can maintain it for a while. But after that, kind of a thoughts occurring, and that thought pattern, if we understand, it can reflect our anusaya keles. It can reflect what are the tendencies in ourselves. Say for example, we are keeping our mind fully quiet. Now it is entirely empty, fully peaceful and entirely free. So suppose you can maintain that for 5 minutes. So at the beginning you may be maintaining it with some effort, but later on you may be able to maintain it with little effort. So since we are maintaining it with little effort, it gives the chance for the anusaya keles to operate, those things to come out. And suppose you are immediately getting a thought about your family or your loved one or someone, so immediately you can understand, okay, still these tendencies are there. Still some craving is operating in my mind. Still my mind goes and hangs with these kind of memories. So there we can understand, okay, kamachand or desire for sense pleasures. So these are available. So we can honestly understand, so these are operating in myself. So that is how we have to understand our own mind. And how we have to eliminate that is, so simply when we are understanding it, so we simply have to acknowledge it. We simply have to accept it rather than rejecting it. So we have to be extremely honest. We have to be really humble to understand, still I am having lust. I am having desires. I am having, craving. So we simply acknowledge it. And we are not blaming ourselves for that. But we simply understand it is true, it's still there. But the tricky point is we are not promoting it. We are not allowing the mind to build up a story behind it. And we simply understanding it and step back or get out of it and let it go. So it is now coming up to the surface, to the conscious level. And we are not promoting it, we are not fertilizing it, since it is not getting our strength. Actually, we are the ones strengthening them. So right now, since we are not strengthening them, they naturally fades away. So that is the technique that we have to take. So we have to maintain a kind of empty mind with very much in a effortless way, and then the anusayas are operating and things are coming to the mind, surface to the mind. And we are understanding it, fully understand, fully comprehend what is going on. We are not rejecting, we acknowledge it, but we don't get deluded by it. We are not promoting it. We step back and just watch it, and it will simply go. So it is very much like we allow them to happen and let it be and let it go. Something like that. Yeah. So that's all the written questions. So if you have any verbal questions, we can spend some more time. No question? Good. Okay then, we can wind up the retreat then. So we all have spent a fair amount of time in this retreat as well. So we tried our best to develop mindfulness and protected the morality. and participated to Dhamma sermons and the Dhamma discussions. So by doing these activities, various meritorious activities, we were able to accumulate a lot of merit. So we'll share these merits with all the passed away relatives. May they all receive these merits, and may they all rejoice in the receiving of these merits. So similarly, we'll share merits with all the celestial beings. May they all receive these merits, and may they all be rejoice in Dhamma, and may they all be able to fulfill their aspirations. And similarly, we'll share these merits with whoever other innocent beings who are in need of merits. May they all receive these merits and may be free from suffering. Let these merits help us also to understand Buddha's teaching, practice it to the best, and to realize path, fruition, Nibbana. While keeping these noble aspirations, noble wishes in our mind, let's recite the traditional verses to share the merits. Ettavataca amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavataca amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavataca amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Akasattha ca bummattha deva naga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu sasanang. Akasattha ca bummattha deva naga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu desanang. Akasattha ca bummattha deva naga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu mamparang. Idang vo ñātīnaṁ hotu sukita huntu ñātayo. Idang vo ñātīnaṁ hotu sukita huntu ñātayo. Idang vo ñātīnaṁ hotu sukita huntu ñātayo. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.